Picture this, it's 1943. You've dedicated your entire early adulthood to serving your country. You left behind your entire life to fight across the seas in Europe. During this time, you've witnessed death firsthand. You've lost friends, companions, family members. But the tide of the war is changing, and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. You have found communities of people who accept you for who you are. You even found the love of your life during your service. However, one day, you receive a letter signed by your superior, and you are dishonorably discharged from the army, simply because you love someone of the same gender. It's been years since the war has begun, and you will receive no compensation for your achievements. Instead, you'll be blacklisted from the federal government, and everyone back home will know that you are queer. You're forced into hiding. There's no need to imagine this if you were a queer soldier during World War II. Americans were sent across seas to help the fight against the Axis powers. As a country, global conflict changed societal norms and standards. A hidden part of history was how World War II affected the queer community. Yes, queer people have always existed. It's not a new phenomenon. Throughout this video, I'll be using words that you may have seen before but don't completely know the definitions of. Here's a list of important terms. Queer is an umbrella term used by the members of the LGBTQ community. It's used to describe people who are not heterosexual. In the past, it was used as a derogatory word to call people odd or different, but since the 1980s, the queer community has reclaimed it as a part of their identity. The word sapphic is an umbrella term used to describe women who love other women. So any woman who identifies as a lesbian, bisexual, or any other women-loving identities is considered sapphic. It is derived from the Greek poet Sappho, who wrote about loving women in the moon. The word lesbian is also derived from Sappho, who lived on the Greek island of Lesbos. Drag are performances where women, usually being portrayed by men, are flamboyant and have eccentric makeup and outfits. These performances have been a large part of queer culture throughout history as a way of gender expression. And then the last term is homosexuality, which is the attraction of people to the same gender-sex. World War II was the first time many young men and women were allowed to enlist into the military. To enlist, they faced these screenings where they were asked about their sexuality for the first time. This had many people begin to start questioning their identity. For most of history, people just pretended queer people did not exist, and if they did, it was extremely frowned upon. The United States needed more workers, and as a result, people would be leaving their rural homes and finding more community in urban areas. According to World War II and the Progress of the LGBT Culture, The Queer Soldier by Hannah Bobrowicz, it is the migratory aspect of the war that allowed a reckoning of gender conformity to occur. Upon the outbreak of war, 15 million people crossed state lines, while millions of men also enlisted in the army. Independence and migration granted self-discovery, and because of this, many people began to understand their sexuality and find communities of people similar to them. But what did this look like for real-life queer heroes? Frank Kameny was a soldier during World War II who graduated from Harvard University. He enlisted in the army after he turned 18. He traveled around the United States, Britain, France, and then Germany during his service. Kameny actively fought against the Germans, risking his life for America. After the war, he returned to the United States and used his veteran benefits to continue his studies in college. He was arrested in 1956 for homosexual activities with another man on a bus. As tensions with the Soviet Union increased, Frank Kameny returned to serve his country, but was discharged because he was gay. As a result, he lost all his veteran benefits and was unable to find any work within the federal government. Kameny refused to let this happen and protested his wrongful discharge. Frank Kameny became known as the father of the gay rights movement after suing the Secretary of War. It was unsuccessful, but this was still a big moment in queer history. He also joined many queer organizations and was a very powerful speaker. Eventually, his activism for the LGBTQ community resulted in revoking the classification of homosexuality as a mental illness. Later in life, Kameny also voiced his concerns about the Don't Ask, Don't Tell law. Frank Kameny spent his whole life fighting for the rights of other queer people. Fighting during global conflict allowed Frank Kameny to make change in the world and laid the groundwork for many generations to come. Christine Jorgensen, who was originally assigned male at birth, was drafted into the army during a time where being openly queer was dangerous. Growing up, Christine was very close with her family and knew from a very early age that she was a woman born into a male body. Christine was not afraid, however. She explained in an interview, "I wanted to be accepted by the army for 2 reasons. Foremost was my great desire to belong, to be needed, and to join the stream of activities around me. Second, I wanted my parents to be proud of me." During her time in the military, She helped with office duties and managing discharged soldiers. After being honorably discharged, she got gender reassignment surgery in Europe and changed her name officially to Christine. When she returned, her story became famous. The New York Daily News released a news story called XGI Becomes Blonde Beauty, Operations Transform Bronx Youth. These publications actually caused a really positive response. She was celebrated as a patriot because of her time in the military and was an example of medical and technological improvement. She did face lots of discrimination and transphobia throughout her life. However, global conflict allowed for societal change and acceptance of new ideas. Christine was celebrated because of her service in the military, and her role as an out transgender woman paved the way for future LGBTQ movements. The whole queer women experienced a significant shift during World War II. Throughout history, women were seen as dainty and had a need to be pure. However, due to the lack of workers in many open jobs, women were able to do traditionally blue-collar jobs. So, global conflict caused a shift in traditional gender roles. Many queer women saw increased job opportunities and felt the military was a way to express themselves. They could wear masculine uniforms and not conform to other societal norms. This led to societal fears regarding lesbian women. Many people believed that since women were not fitting into traditional gender roles, they needed to do something. As a result, the Women's Army Corps spoke against homosexuality and created more strict screenings for women to join the military. Despite this, lesbian women still continued to join the military and created social networks to connect with each other. Since these women were working in the military, a lot of them were truck drivers, janitors, and worked for the Postal Service. As a result, they used carabiners to hold their keys. While these carabiners were functional, they also served as a way for women who could not be publicly out due to fear of persecution to subtly find other queer women. To this day, carabiners are a symbol of one's sapphic identity. Despite this progress and sense of community queer people were finding, the military still had a way of punishing people for being queer. During World War II, the military needed to cut costs, so they began to lay off service members. They would give blue tickets in order to discharge soldiers. These tickets unfairly targeted queer men and women along with people of color. According to the National Park Service, 9,000 men and women received blue discharge because of their sexuality. In total, about 50,000 people received blue discharges during World War II. The largest subgroup of those recipients were African American men. In order to determine who would receive a blue ticket, soldiers would be subject to intense interrogations regarding their sexuality. If they were discharged, this would go in their public records where anyone could see. Many queer people were forcibly outed and faced scrutiny afterwards. If someone was discharged on the count of being homosexual, the military charged them with a crime, and they were labeled as psychopaths. They were sent to mental institutes and were quarantined from society. On top of that, those discharged were unable to receive military benefits after the war. The outrage due to this discrimination laid the groundwork for future LGBTQ movements. According to the article, "Gee, I Wish I Were a Man," from the World War II Memorial Friends, gay men and women experienced persecution and repression after the relative freedom they experienced during the war contributed to the burgeoning gay rights movement. Despite this, queer people still found joy through GI drag shows. American soldiers were in desperate need for fun during World War II. To combat this, the Army Special Services performed live shows with men dressed as women. Men and women were separated from each other during the war, so the only entertainers available were other men. Some of these performances were called pony ballet numbers. Masculine soldiers would wear ballet costumes in their boots and perform choreographed dance routines. These routines even became a commercial success, earning thousands of dollars for the Army. These men would also impersonate female actresses, as well as singing and dancing. As more women joined the military, they were still not allowed to perform with men. However, they were able to help men learn how to perform and make costumes. The success of these shows also led to the integration of white and black soldiers. In Harlem, there were fully integrated drag shows, and in the military, white soldiers were able to perform in front of black soldiers. Since being gay was illegal in the military, these drag shows served as a way to express their queerness. They could be openly feminine without receiving a discharge or criticism. This created a sense of community and acceptance for other queer soldiers who watched the performances. Although drag shows have been seen throughout history, dating back to the 1800s, this was one of the first times where it was openly accepted. After World War II, queer people returning from service faced significant struggles. They no longer had an outlet for their sexuality and gender expression. Women who were working traditionally male jobs no longer had that opportunity and were unhappy with their lives at home. They were expected to be housewives and raise a family, and most of these queer women did not want that. To wrap it up, the global conflict of World War II created an environment where queer soldiers could find a sense of belonging, self-expression, and community. From the battlefield to GI drag shows, these moments of resistance laid the foundation for the future of queer activism.